Good day, ma'am. This is our report about the poem My Last Farewell, also known as Mi Ultimo Adios, 1896. On the afternoon of December 29, 1896, a day before his execution, Dr. Jose Rizal was visited by his mother, Theodora Alonso, sisters Lucia, Josefa Trinidad, Maria, and Narcisa, and two nephews. When they took their leave, Rizal told Trinidad in English that there was something in the small alcohol stove, as opposed to saying coconut oil lamp, which was intended to provide cover for the transportation of the text. The stove was given to Narcisa by the guard when the party was about to board their carriage in the courtyard. At home, the Rizal ladies recovered a folded paper from the stove. On it was written an unsigned, untitled, and undated poem of 14 five-line stanzas. The Rizals reproduced copies of the poem and sent them to Rizal's friends in the country and abroad. In 1897, Mariano Ponce in Hong Kong had a poem printed with the title Mi Ultimo Pensamento. Father Mariano Docanay, who received a copy of the poem while a prisoner in Bilibid, published in it the first issue of La Independencia on September 25, 1898, with the title Ultimo Adios.
Albert Pike, 1809 to 91, once said that what we have done for ourselves alone dies with us. What we have done for others and the world remains and is immortal. And I think Jose Rizal is one of the most important figures who actually devoted himself, particularly his intellectual endowments, to the services and for the progress of his countrymen. He bestowed patriotic and nationalistic oeuvre that opened the eyes of his fellow poets and captured the hearts of his people. Needless to say, he truly left a mark that even the nature's changing course can change because that mark was evidently sealed in our hearts. For the most part, one of Rizal's writings, which is widely regarded as a masterpiece, is his Mi Ultimo Adios, or My Last Farewell. The last known poetic tribute beautifully penned by Rizal to his one true love, Philippines. My Last Farewell is a 14-verse valedictory poem written shortly before he was put to death. Such poetry expresses love, death, unfathomable grief, and a man sure of his own convictions. It contains lines that enlightened and ignited the flame of millions of people's hearts. It begins with its first stanza. Farewell, dear fatherland, clime of the sun-kissed pearl of the Orient seas. Our Eden lost, gladly now I go to give thee this faded life's best, and were it brighter, fresher, or more blessed, still would I give it thee, nor count the cost. Rizal asserted here that he would die in the name of the Philippines with no regret.
In line 2, or Eden Lost, he alluded to the Spanish friars who neglected our pre-Christian culture and made us use their favorite language to prevent handing down the ancient stories from generation to generation. Thus, Filipinos were metaphorically seen by Rizal as people who had been driven forth from the garden of their own culture. He continues then, when the field of battle meet a frenzy of fight, others have given their lives without doubt or head. The place matters not cypress or laurel or lily white, scaffold or open plain, combat or martyrdom's plight, is ever the same to serve our home and country's need. At this moment, Rizal admires and agrees to those who fight in the lines 6 and 7. The kind of death those fighters' life will be such on line 9 doesn't matter because their death is a true valor and brings honor to the beloved Philippines. He then continues. I died just when I saw the dawn break through the gloom of night to herald the day, and if color is lacking my blood thou shalt take, poured out at need for thy dear sake, to dye with its crimson the working ray. From the above stanza, Rizal uses devices that employs our visual senses on these lines. To think that this was written on the eve of his execution, he must have had pictured out what would await him. He then continues to say, my dream when life first opened to me, my dreams when the hopes of youth beat high, were to see thy love face, O gem of the Orient Sea, from gloom and grief, from care and sorrow free, no blush in thy brow, not ear in thin eye. From these lines, Rizal's intention was to remind us that we are a witness of his ideas and thoughts he had put on paper and ever since he was a child. He dreamed of seeing his country as free as an uncaged bird could fly. He then continues, dream of my life, my living and burning desire. All hail, Christ the salt hat is now to take flight. All hail, and sweet it is for thee to expire, to die for thy sake, and thou mightst aspire, and sleep in my bosom eternity's long night. From these lines, Rizal was telling us to remember him as someone who died because of his love and his living flame of patriotism. He says in the third line that it is beautiful knowing your country may acquire something positively. He continues in the succeeding lines that to die is giving you life, and he's somewhat saying that his death was not an end but somehow just a beginning. He then continues, if over my grave someday those seeds grow, in the grassy sod a humble flower, draw it to thy lips and kiss my soul, while I may feel on my brow in the cold sun below the touch of thy tenderness, thy breath's warm power. In this stanza, Rizal had metaphorically seen himself as a humble flower in the grassy sod, which means he was just a simple and humble man who is trying to cling on the cliff of being dragged by the heavy stones of society, and even if his time has come, he will still live on and never cease to enjoy what Philippines had given to him.
Thus, it has been personified in the last line. He then continues to say, let the moon beam over me soft and serene, let the dawn shed over me its radiant flashes, let the wind with sad lament over me keen, and if on my cross a bird should be seen, let it trill there its hymn of peace to my ashes. From the above stanza, Rizal had foreseen his death. However, he admitted that his dreams have always guided his actions. The following lines also mentioned and purely personified his emotions that he has felt in his fight for freedom. Let the sun draw the vapors up to the sky, and heavenward in purity bear my tardy protest. Let some kind soul o'er my old timely faith sigh, and in the still evening a prayer be lifted on high from thee, O my country, that in God I may rest. In these lines, he pleaded earnestly to his motherland that his soul may rest in God, for he believed that men are sinners and that salvation is to be earned and cannot be determined before the grave. He uses personifications again from the first three lines. He then continues, pray for all those that hapless have died, for all who have suffered the unmeasured pain, for our mothers that bitterly their woes have cried, for widows and orphans, for captives by torture tried, and then for thyself that redemption thou mayst gain. From this stanza, Rizal uses apostrophic lines by pleading to his country on praying the things he had mentioned from the first three lines, and he also, in a hopeful closing note, asks her to pray for herself. He then continues to say, and when the dark night wraps the graveyard around, with only the dead in their vigil to see, break not my repose or the mystery profound. And perchance thou mayst hear a sad hymn resound is, I, O my country, raising a song unto thee. In these lines, Rizal again had pictured his final resting place, where he shall be singing a song to his country. He again personified things from the above lines and ended it with an address to the Philippines by offering a song. He then continues, and even my grave is remembered no more, unmarked by never a cross nor a stone. Let the plough sweep through it, the spade turn it o'er, that my ashes may carpet earthly floor, before into nothingness at last they are blown. In this next stanza, he mentioned here that if his grave was no longer remembered, he wishes to then be plowed by a man. However, what happened actually in today's time was different from what he said in the sad lines. He then continues to say, then will oblivion bring to me no care, as over thy vales and plains I sweep, throbbing entranced in thy space and air, with color and light, with song and lament I fare, ever repeating the faith that I keep. From the above stanza, Rizal envisions that if his ashes were spread in his motherland, which was mentioned from the previous stanza, he can now say that he has returned to her. He then continues to the next stanza, my fatherland adored, that sadness to my sorrow lands beloved Filipinas, hear now my last goodbye. I give thee all, parents and kindred and friends, for I go where no slave before the oppressor bends, where faith can never kill, and God reigns ever on high. In these lines, Rizal submissively state in a hopeful tone. He then bid goodbye to his beloved country and contemplating being with God in heaven, wherein there are no more slaves and tyrants. He then continues to his last stanza, farewell to you all, from my soul torn away. Friends of my childhood in the home dispossessed, give thanks that I rest from the wearisome day. Farewell to thee, too, sweet friend that lightened my way. Beloved creatures all, farewell. That's all. Thank you for watching and have a good day.